My heart ached. It was a dull, persistent throb, the kind that lingered long after the initial wound.
Emily traced the rim of her coffee cup, her reflection staring back at her, a stranger in the familiar cafe. The cafe where she and Michael had shared so many laughs, so many stolen kisses. Now the air felt thick with his absence.
The memory of our last fight played in my mind, a broken record on repeat. His words, sharp and cutting, had left their mark.
We've grown apart, Emily.
He had said it with a finality that stole her breath. Perhaps he was right. Somewhere along the way, their paths had diverged. They had become two ships passing in the night, their love fading with the setting sun. Emily blinked back the tears threatening to spill. She refused to cry. Not here, not anymore. She gathered her things, her movements mechanical, and stepped out into the bustling city street. The noise and chaos washed over her, a stark contrast to the quiet storm raging within her. The salty tang of the ocean air filled her lungs. The rhythmic crashing of waves against the shore was a soothing balm to her raw emotions. Emily had always found solace by the sea. It was her sanctuary, a place where she could escape the noise of the world and just be. This small coastal town held a special place in her heart. It was her grandmother's hometown, a place she had visited every summer as a child.
Now I find myself drawn back here, seeking refuge in its familiar embrace. The town hasn't changed much. The quaint cottages, painted in pastel hues, still line the narrow streets. The scent of saltwater taffy still wafts from the local candy store. Time seems to stand still here, a stark contrast to the fast-paced life I left behind.
Emily wandered aimlessly, her footsteps echoing on the cobblestone streets. The town was quiet, the summer crowds long gone. The only sound was the distant cry of seagulls and the gentle creaking of fishing boats bobbing in the harbor. She felt a strange sense of peace settle over her, a sense of belonging she hadn't realized she had been craving. Her grandmother's house stood on a hill overlooking the ocean, its white paint weathered by time and salt spray. Emily had always loved this house. It was filled with memories of childhood summers, filled with laughter, the scent of freshly baked cookies, and the comforting presence of her grandparents. Now, the house stood silent, shrouded in a cloak of sadness.
As I pushed open the creaking gate, a wave of nostalgia washed over me. I could almost hear my grandmother's voice calling my name, could almost smell the lavender perfume she always wore. The garden, once a riot of color, was now overgrown with weeds, a testament to the passage of time.
Emily let herself into the house, the air thick with dust and the faint scent of mothballs. The furniture was draped in white sheets, giving the house an eerie, almost ghostly feel. She wandered from room to room, her fingers trailing along dusty surfaces. Each room held a memory, a whisper of a life well lived. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten memories. Sunbeams slanted through cracks in the boarded-up windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Emily made her way carefully through the labyrinth of old furniture, stacks of yellowed books, and discarded toys. It was like stepping back in time.
My gaze fell upon a dusty wooden chest tucked under the eaves. It was ornately carved with faded roses and forget-me-nots. Curiosity piqued. I knelt and lifted the heavy lid. Inside, nestled amongst layers of tissue paper, I found stacks of letters, tied together with faded ribbon. The paper was brittle with age, the ink faded, but the words seemed to leap off the page, filled with a life of their own.
Emily picked up a letter, her fingers tracing the elegant script. It was addressed to my dearest James, the words filled with a longing that resonated deep within her soul. She had stumbled upon a secret, a love story hidden away for decades, waiting to be told. The attic, usually a space of forgotten things, became Emily's portal to another time. The letters spoke of a love story that had unfolded decades earlier.
I sank onto a dusty trunk, my heart pounding with excitement. With careful fingers, I untied the ribbon binding the letters.
The paper, yellowed and thin with age, crackled softly. As Emily delved into the letters, a new world unfolded. Margaret wrote of a young sailor, James, his eyes the color of the summer sky, his smile capable of chasing away the darkest clouds. They had met at the local dance hall, their connection instant and undeniable.
James, with his tales of faraway lands and his promises whispered under the moonlight, had stolen my heart.
Emily could almost feel the electricity between them, a love story blossoming amidst the chaos of war. The letters were filled with the innocence of first love, the excitement of stolen moments, and the agony of separation. James, stationed overseas, poured his heart out in his letters, each one a testament to his love for Margaret.
I wrote of my longing for her, my dreams of our future together, a future where the war would be a distant memory, and our love would be all that mattered.
Emily found herself swept away by their love story, her own heartbreak momentarily forgotten. Margaret and James's love transcended time and circumstance, their letters a testament to the enduring power of connection. As she read, Emily felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love could bloom. As the war raged on, a shadow fell over Margaret and James's correspondence. The letters, once filled with lighthearted banter and dreams of the future, took on a more somber tone. The reality of war, the ever-present fear of loss, began to seep into their words.
I wrote of my comrades lost in battle, my words heavy with grief and a growing sense of disillusionment.
Margaret, bound by duty to her family and her small town, could only offer words of comfort and encouragement from afar.
I wrote of my unwavering love for James, my belief in our future together, even as the war threatened to tear us apart.
Emily felt a pang of empathy for her grandmother, imagining the strength it must have taken to remain hopeful in the face of such uncertainty. The letters became a lifeline for Margaret and James, a way to cling to their love and their sanity in a world that seemed determined to break them. They shared their hopes, their fears, and their dreams, seeking solace in each other's words. Emily, caught in the crossfire of their emotions, felt a profound connection to these two people she had never met. Their love story, a timeless reminder of the human capacity for resilience and hope. As Emily delved deeper into the letters, she became aware of a growing sense of dissonance. Margaret's world, with its strict social conventions and the ever-present threat of war, seemed a million miles away from her own modern life.
Yet beneath the surface, I recognized a shared humanity, a timeless yearning for connection and belonging that transcended time and circumstance.
Margaret's letters were filled with a quiet strength, a resilience that Emily found both inspiring and intimidating. She had faced challenges that Emily could only imagine, yet her love for James had remained steadfast.
I wonder if I possess even a fraction of my grandmother's fortitude, wrestling with my own comparatively trivial heartbreak.
The letters became a mirror, reflecting back Emily's own insecurities and fears. Margaret's story, though set in a different time, resonated with a surprising familiarity. It was a story of love, loss, and the challenges of navigating a world that often felt indifferent to the yearnings of the human heart.
And as I immersed myself in my grandmother's past, I began to see my own present in a new light.
The year was 1942. The world outside was a tempest, a maelstrom of uncertainty and fear. But within the pages of Margaret's letters, Emily found a different kind of storm brewing, a whirlwind of youthful passion and innocent love.
Margaret, as she came alive through her words, was a vibrant soul, full of life and laughter, her spirit as bright as the summer sun.
Emily pictured her grandmother, not as the frail, silver-haired woman she remembered from her childhood, but as a young woman on the cusp of adulthood. Margaret, with her sunshine blonde hair and eyes that sparkled with mischief and dreams, was the embodiment of youthful optimism, even as the shadows of war loomed large.
Her letters were filled with a zest for life, a love for her small town, and an unwavering belief in the power of love to conquer all.
Emily smiled, her heart warming at the image of her grandmother so full of life. Margaret's world, though far removed from her own, suddenly felt tangible, alive with possibilities. The attic, with its dust motes dancing in the afternoon sun, transformed into a stage where Margaret's story unfolded, each letter a scene, each word a brushstroke painting a vivid picture of a bygone era. The air crackled with anticipation. The music, a lively foxtrot, filled the small, crowded dance hall. Margaret, in a simple yet elegant dress, waited with excitement.
This was the night of the annual summer dance.
He arrived with fellow sailors, his white uniform standing out. James, with his easy charm, stood out like a beacon.
Their eyes met across the crowded room.
Margaret felt a blush as James approached. He bowed, extending his hand towards her.
May I have this dance?
And as they waltzed, Margaret knew her life would never be the same. Their courtship was a whirlwind of stolen moments, shared glances across the crowded room, and whispered promises under the starlit sky.
But it was our letters, filled with longing and love, that cemented our bond, becoming a lifeline in a world teetering on the brink of chaos.
James, stationed miles away, poured his heart out on paper, each letter a testament to his love for Margaret.
I wrote of my longing to be back in her arms, to dance with her under the moonlight, to build a future together far away from the horrors of war.
And I, in turn, shared my hopes, my dreams, and my fears, my words a source of comfort and strength for James as he faced the uncertainties of battle.
Their letters became a sacred ritual, a way to bridge the distance, to keep their love alive despite the miles and the ever-present shadow of war.
Emily, lost in the world of her grandparents' love story, felt a pang of envy. Their love, so pure, so absolute, was a stark contrast to the complexities of her own recent relationship.
As she read their letters, she realized that love, true love, transcended time. It was a timeless dance of two souls, intertwined, inseparable. But their love story, like the world around them, was not without its storms.
Whispers of disapproval began to surface, casting a shadow over our happiness.
Margaret's parents, bound by the traditions of their time, frowned upon her relationship with a sailor, a man they deemed unsuitable for their daughter.
With my uncertain future and the ever-present danger of my profession, I represented a risk, an unknown entity in their well-ordered world.
Margaret, torn between her love for James and her duty to her family, found herself at a crossroads.
Emily, reading between the lines, could sense Margaret's internal struggle, the conflict between her heart's desire and the societal norms that threatened to stifle her newfound happiness.
The letters, once filled with carefree joy, now carried a hint of melancholy, a reflection of the external pressures that threatened to extinguish their love.
I wrote words of reassurance, urging her to stay strong, to hold on to our love.
But even his unwavering belief in their future couldn't completely erase the doubts that had taken root in Margaret's heart. One warm summer night, as the moon cast its silvery glow, James took Margaret's hand.
I promised her a future filled with love, a life together where we would weather any storm.
It was a moment frozen in time, a promise etched in moonlight.
And as Emily delved back into the next letter, she wondered if their love would withstand the trials ahead. The attic, bathed in the soft golden light of a setting sun, became Emily's sanctuary.
As I delved deeper into Margaret's letters, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was reading about my own life.
Margaret's words, filled with joy, longing, and uncertainty, resonated with an eerie familiarity.
The societal pressures Margaret faced resonated with the constraints I felt in my own life.
The ocean, a vast and timeless expanse, became a tangible link between Emily and Margaret.
Just as the ocean waves crashed against the shore, so too did our shared experiences bridge the gap between generations.
Emily, seeking solace by the water's edge, imagined her grandmother standing on the same shore.
The ocean, a silent witness to their love, had borne witness to their laughter, their tears, their unspoken promises.
One of the most poignant themes in Margaret's letters was the weight of unspoken words.
Recognizing a familiar pattern in my own life, I felt a pang of empathy for my grandmother.
Margaret's letters were filled with carefully chosen words, her emotions veiled behind stoicism.
Reflecting on my own recent breakup, I realized the profound cost of emotional guardedness.
Section 4, Echoes of a Love Lost.
One evening, I stumbled upon a letter that sent a chill down my spine.
It was a letter Margaret had written to James but never sent, filled with raw vulnerability.
She confessed her deepest insecurities, her fears that he would forget about her.
Section 5. A Seed of Courage.
As I continued to immerse myself in Margaret's letters, I felt a shift within my own heart.
The seed of courage, dormant for so long, began to sprout, nourished by her grandmother's story.
Emily realized she had a choice: to be brave, to open her heart, to risk vulnerability in the pursuit of love.
Section 1. Deployment and Distance.
The day James left for war was etched into Margaret's memory.
Emily, reading the letter, could almost feel the weight of Margaret's grief.
Emily, her heart heavy with empathy, imagined Margaret's pain, the agonizing wait for news.
Despite the distance, Margaret and James's letters became a lifeline.
Each letter, carefully crafted, filled with longing and hope, was a precious treasure.
Emily, unfolding the brittle pages, felt a surge of emotion as she witnessed their love unfolding.
Even amidst the darkness, my love for you shines through, a beacon of hope.
As months turned into years, a new tension crept into Margaret's letters.
Robert, a childhood friend, has become a constant presence in my life.
Emily sensed Margaret's growing confusion, the conflict between her loyalty to James and her feelings for Robert.
Robert represents stability, yet James remains the love of my life.
Emily, her heart aching for her grandmother, carefully refolded the unsent letter.
She realized that Margaret had chosen to keep her feelings hidden, to protect James.
The unsent letter, a testament to her love and her sacrifice, remained a silent echo.
Margaret's letters to James seemed to lack the vibrancy, the spark, the unbridled passion that had once leaped off the page. The attic had become Emily's sanctuary, a place where the past whispered its secrets.
She carefully lifted the lid of a small cedarwood box.
Inside, nestled amongst yellowed photographs and dried flowers, lay a single unopened letter.
Emily's fingers trembled as she picked up the letter.
It was heavier than she expected, as if the weight of unspoken words had settled into its very fibers.
Taking a deep breath, Emily carefully slid her finger under the flap of the envelope.
The words, penned in the throes of a moonless night, tumbled onto the page, a torrent of emotions that Margaret had kept bottled up for far too long.
Emily, her heart pounding in her chest, felt a lump rise in her throat as she read her grandmother's words. Each sentence a testament to the silent battles fought within the confines of her own heart.
Margaret wrote of the guilt that gnawed at her conscience, the fear of betraying James with her unspoken feelings for Robert.
She confessed her longing for a love that felt close and real, a love that could offer solace and companionship in a world ravaged by uncertainty.
The words poured out of her, raw and unfiltered, a desperate plea for understanding, a cry for help that had gone unanswered for decades.
Emily, her own heart aching with empathy, could almost feel the weight of Margaret's unspoken words, the heavy silence that had settled over her life like a shroud.
She realized that Margaret, bound by the conventions of her time, had chosen to bear the burden of her secret alone, sacrificing her own happiness for the sake of a love that seemed destined to be lost amidst the chaos of war. As Emily read on, she was struck by the realization that her grandmother's story, though set against the backdrop of a bygone era, held an unsettling relevance to her own life.
Margaret's fear of vulnerability, her reluctance to express her true feelings, mirrored my own struggles in my relationship with Michael.
Emily thought back to the countless times she had bitten back her own words, afraid of appearing too needy, too emotional, too invested.
I had convinced myself that playing it cool, maintaining an air of aloof detachment, was the key to protecting my heart from getting hurt.
But as she read Margaret's words, she realized that such emotional guardedness, while seemingly safe, often came at a heavy price.
Margaret's unsent letter became a stark reminder that sometimes the words left unsaid, the emotions bottled up, could create a chasm wider than any ocean, a silence more deafening than any storm.
It was a sobering realization, a wake-up call that jolted Emily out of her own self-imposed emotional exile. The attic, once a place of refuge, suddenly felt stifling, the weight of unspoken words pressing down on Emily's chest.
I needed air, space to process the emotional whirlwind.
She made her way downstairs, her footsteps echoing through the silent house, each creak a reminder of the passage of time.
Stepping out into the crisp night air, I felt liberated, the stars a glimmer of hope.
Margaret's story ignited a spark within her, a newfound determination to live with more honesty, more courage, more heart. The first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, a new day breaking over the quiet coastal town.
Emily, her heart heavy with the weight of her grandmother's story, stood at the water's edge, each wave erasing a bit more of the past, to step out of the shadows of her grandmother's life and into the light of her own.
The urge to reach out to Michael was overwhelming. Emily knew their relationship had ebbed and flowed, shaped by external forces and unspoken fears.
On the familiar beach, she remembered their laughter. Love was worth fighting for, even if it meant risking heartbreak. Emily composed a heartfelt message to Michael.
She didn't apologize or make promises. She wrote from the heart, expressing regret and hope. Hitting send, Emily felt relief wash over her. Watching the sunrise, she realized the greatest act of love was letting go, allowing both herself and Michael the freedom to find happiness. The days seemed to stretch on forever, each passing hour a bittersweet symphony of memories and anticipation. Emily, determined to embrace the present moment, spent the afternoon exploring her grandmother's town, wandering through the quaint shops, stopping to admire the colorful blooms in the local gardens.
She even treated herself to a scoop of saltwater taffy from the same candy store her grandmother used to frequent. The sweet, salty treat, a nostalgic reminder of her childhood summers.
As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the beach, Emily found herself drawn back to the water's edge. The air was alive with the sound of seagulls and the rhythmic crashing of waves, a soothing melody that calmed her restless heart.
And then, as if summoned by her thoughts, she saw him walking towards her, his silhouette outlined against the fiery sunset.
Tom, her oldest and dearest friend, a constant source of support and laughter in her life, had an uncanny ability to sense when she needed him most. He greeted her with a warm hug, his embrace a comforting reminder that love came in many forms, that sometimes the greatest love stories were written in the language of friendship, loyalty, and unwavering support. As the stars began to emerge in the twilight sky, painting the heavens in 1,000 twinkling lights, Emily knew it was time to leave her grandmother's past behind and embrace the future. The unsent letters, once a source of pain and regret, now served as a testament to the power of vulnerability, the importance of living a life true to oneself.
Emily imagined Margaret and James, their spirits reunited somewhere beyond the veil of time. Their love story an enduring reminder that even in the face of adversity, the human heart had an infinite capacity for love, forgiveness, and redemption.
She thought of her own journey, the lessons she had learned, the courage she had found in the most unexpected of places.
As she turned to leave her grandmother's house for the last time, Emily noticed a single white envelope lying on the entryway table. It was addressed to her, the handwriting unfamiliar yet comforting.
Picking it up, her fingers trembling slightly, she realized that some stories, like love itself, had a way of coming full circle, offering unexpected gifts of healing and hope long after the final chapter had been written. With a deep breath, Emily tucked the letter into her bag, a promise of new beginnings whispered on the breeze.